a series of webinars followed up by a listserv discussion. These trainings are part of Project Survive and Thrive, which ProLiteracy created to help our members during difficult financial times. Our online discussion begins tomorrow, and I really hope you can all participate in that. And now it's my great pleasure to introduce Joyce Whidden, Executive Director of the Adult Literacy League in Orlando, Florida. Joyce?
Thanks, Dave. Our topic for today is special event fundraising. Do we have to? We're, first of all, taking a look at the responses we had to the survey that was sent out by ProLiteracy, which asked questions like, what are you currently doing? What are you currently doing? And we had a variety of responses. It seems like the most popular activities in terms of special event fundraising currently are some kind of spelling bee or literacy competition that would involve, or literacy-related competition. Some of you have trivia bees, some have spelling bees. There are a number of you out there doing reading or author events, and there were a variety of others. Spelling bees certainly was the number one activity for special event fundraising that we found that you were doing. We were also looking to see what were the good things about it and the things that you commented on as being cons, or things that made it very difficult. Obviously, the pros of a special event fundraiser are the fact that you're going to make new friends and recruit new volunteers. There are volunteers out there who just love special events. They find them a real social activity, and they just really love to be involved in it. I know with one of our events, the Reading Between the Lines, our team of volunteers has gotten to be quite good friends over the years. It also engages leadership volunteers, people stepping forward to do things they might not have done before, and it increases your community visibility. It can do this in a variety of ways and at a variety of levels, but if you do something in the community that brings anywhere from 50 to 350 people in for an activity, you're going to raise your visibility. Another thing about it is that, you can have fun, and you can also, if it's well organized and well done, you can make a good amount of money. Obviously, one of the things we asked was what people found the most difficult about it, the cons, and I would say that most common answer here was that it burns out both volunteers and staff, that it's very hard work, and that it just is incredibly time-intensive, and also a great deal of organizational time involved in keeping all the parts and pieces moving. Special event fundraising is very hard work. When we did our Reading Between the Lines event, I had 2 staff members really devoted to this, and both of them took a significant amount of time off immediately after the event. So, and I did not have the heart to argue with their need for it. It is hard work. Events can wear out their welcome. One of the things we asked about what you're doing is why you wanted to be on today's call. And a lot of people said, well, we've been doing this for 10 years or 7 years or 12 years, and we want to either refresh the event that we're doing, whether it's a spelling bee, a trivia bee, some kind of an author event or a gala, but we don't want it to get stale. We may be wanting to reinvent our special event. There were a few people who are considering undertaking a special event for the first time. The other comment that we had was that it costs too much money, and this can certainly be a problem. One of the things I'm going to talk a lot about today is how you can keep the cost of your event down and the importance of doing that. Funders like the fact that most of their money is going to your program, and one of the big pros for this that we haven't really talked about is that all the money that you raise in a special event is unrestricted. You can use it to pay those things that no funder likes to pay, your administrative assistant, your bookkeeper, whatever you have on your staff that you just can never put on a grant. Special event dollars can pay for those things that no one else will pay for. So the first topic of discussion that I would like to talk about was whether or not your event should match your mission. Obviously, we've talked a little bit about the events that people are doing, and many have tied their event to something that's literacy-related or at least reading-related. The samples there would be the spelling bee, the Scrabble tournament. author or book signing. Our event is a famous author at a book signing, a used book sale, again, something literacy related, or should it be something other? There were definitely people who responded to our survey who are doing other things, galas, lunches, other events, large and small, that are not connected to the mission of the literacy organization. What I would suggest about this is when you're planning your event is that you get a team together that's comprised of board members, people or stakeholders in your community and for your programs, some tutors, volunteers of other kinds. Sit down and talk about whether or not you want the mission to match, or the event to match the mission. When we came up with Reading Between the Wines 5 years ago, we had a team of volunteers led by a former board member. It contained members of all the segments of our organization, and they came up with the name Reading Between the Wines. At that time, wine tasting events were very popular. The silent auction was something we felt we could incorporate. And we were confident that if we had enough lead time, we could find an author that would have a large enough name recognition to make the event a success. The decision from the very beginning, the first decision they made, was that the event would match the mission. But that doesn't necessarily mean you need to do that. But it was something that was arrived at by consensus, so that when it was presented to the board as a done deal, they were able to get on board for it. So I've talked a little bit about having a strategic special event plan, and I would really suggest that you do this, that you look at it really strategically. How much do you want to raise to make the effort worthwhile? Also to ensure that you have volunteer leadership and that you've got, as we discussed in the previous slide, a strategic plan to decide whether you want to have it to match your mission, but also to decide how you're going to either improve, revamp, or change, or develop a special event. The final bullet here is have the philosophy that you won't pay for anything, that there is some way to get everything donated, the venue, the menu, everything. And I think that for our organization was a really critical thing. We wanted to maximize the net value of the event, having run for many years an event that we could not get the expenses down below $10,000 or $12,000. We were determined that we were going to find a way to maximize our potential, so our earning potential. Does anyone have any questions at this time about planning for a change in event or developing a new event? I see a hand, and I'm clicking on the hand.
Yeah, Joyce, I was just wondering, how much does your Reading Between the Wines bring in? How much do you net from that?
That's a really good question for us, especially this year when we did actually just finish the event, and we did spend a little bit more than we had in previous years. However, we did raise more this year from sponsorships. Our net was $64,000. Our expenses this year were about $4,000. Last year they were about $2,200. So we did increase our expenses this year. One of the things that we agreed to do was to pay the travel expenses for our author, who is Lisa C. She had a movie come out last year, and she was on book tour, and it was one of the things that we put out there to try and secure this very popular author. So that did, her travel expenses from California to Florida were added to our costs this year. We also improved the audiovisual. We had been sort of working on a wing and a prayer before, and we did throw some more dollars at that. But still, with $63,000 or $64,000 as our net, that's good for us, and it's 12 to 15% of our annual budget.
Now is the time that I really am going to ask for you to weigh in. I know this muting and unmuting can seem daunting, but it's good to hear from you. When it comes to special event fundraising, answer this question. I wish my board would. Now, I may not choose all of you, but let's see. What would you like your board to do when it comes to special event fundraising? Hello? Okay, nobody has a comment about...
Joyce, Ellen has her hand up.
Who has their hand up?
Ellen? And I believe Ellen is...
Hello?
Yeah, Ellen, you had a comment about, you had wanted to comment on what you wish your board would do?
Yes, ma'am. And the thing is that we have been involving our board, and our board is really starting to get involved, and that's what I really wish the board would do, is get involved. And we've been having strategic planning, and the board is really getting involved right now. And we're getting this so-called everything donated to us right now because of the board is stepping up and saying this is what we want. And so it seems like we're getting increased visibility because of them. And I just would like to see more of this. And I think we are going to have this in the future. And since we're seeing it now, we're just crossing our fingers that this is going to continue.
Well, that's exciting to hear that somebody's having good success with that. I think that it is true, I think, in a lot of cases that board members do become engaged around special events because it's something they can bring colleagues to, and it's a way for them to say, look, I'm involved in this organization. We do really great work, and come to this event and learn more about it. So that's a good way to additionally engage. Does anybody else have a comment about something that they wish their board would do?
Joyce, we did get some comments from some people, too, in the chat function. And
okay.
I noticed people are sending that to me privately, but if you can send it to everybody, then we can all see that. But
yes,
we did have some comments.
At all.
Yeah, so Diana had a comment. Diana, if you can unmute and make her comment. She said she wished her board would take an active role in help with fundraising.
Okay, Diana?
Yes.
Okay, she wishes her board would take an active role in fundraising.
And help with fundraising. And Marilyn Golightly said she wished that her board would participate.
Okay, great. Okay, those are two really good comments. I will say that one thing that we instituted a couple of years ago was a board member commitment form. When board members sign on, we have a little commitment form, and we ask them on that commitment form while they're deciding to become a board member how much they feel they can contribute over the term of their board service, and also what role they can play in supporting our special event, either by getting sponsorship from their corporation, personally buying tickets, or volunteering for the event in some way. So that when the board member signs on, they know that there is an expectation that they will be expected to participate and that there will be special events. We tell them that we have 2 special events, which we do, and that we expect them to find a way to support each.
And then, Joyce, we had another comment, too, if you're ready for a couple more.
Please.
Okay. Kirsten Case said that she would like help with making asks from her board.
Okay, that's a really, really good comment. And I see that somebody also has said that I wish my board would take more of a lead role in the planning and not just the night of the event. With regard to the ask, there are some people who are just never going to do this, an ask. But you can offer training. And what we found was we were able to encourage board members to make asks when they had a little bit of training. Our local philanthropy center at Rollins College here in Orlando will bring people to a board meeting to discuss how do you actually do the ask. The other thing that you can do is script it for your board member. My board tends to be fairly young, and lots of times we are the first board that they've ever served on. And I find that if I script them or work with them on a script, that's something that helps them make the ask. Email is really good for making asks. People like email. They like something short and sweet. And if you're going to make an ask, make sure you have documentation, forms to describe what you're asking for, and levels of sponsorship, so that it really makes it easy for your board member to make that ask. And hold their hand a little bit. all of us started in this work at some point, and I know there were people that held my hand, and I'm happy now to be able to hold other people's hands a little bit. So I would say those are some of the ways you can get your board to be more active. But I think setting it as an expectation when they join the board it has been the most beneficial thing for us.
And Joyce, we had one more comment from Michael Evans. He wrote, I wish board members would view their role as a higher priority than just showing up at the event. It's frustrating when their presence alone is seen as an accomplishment.
Okay, and I have to say, I've got a little disadvantage here, guys. My little block windows are really small, and I didn't see Michael's hand up. I'll move this thing up and down a little bit more so I can see that. Just attending the meeting. Of course, I hear from people who say, I wish my board members would attend the meeting, which, is another problem. One of the things we put on our board member expectation form was, that we expect them to serve on committees, that the committees will meet regularly, that we assume they're going to, these are dates to put on their calendar, just like the student recognition event and the volunteer appreciation dinner. These are things we expect that they will do. The other thing is to work with your board development chair to have very serious conversations with board members as they come in or as they're being recruited, to let them know what the expectation is. And if you're recruiting new board members, having them come or serve on a committee prior to being on your board, they're going to get a better flavor of exactly what the expectation for volunteers and leadership volunteers might be within your organization. So I do recommend peopling your event committees with community people that you'd like to see more active with your organization, and then working to bring them onto your board, or having them name a surrogate. We have somebody very high up in a company who's on our, committee, but they gave us somebody on their staff to be on our board, and they, obviously they're motivated because their boss, recommended them, and we're lucky to have the dual connection. So is there any other questions with regard to just things you wish your board would do? Is anything that is any of what I've said at all helpful?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. So I've got, I have no more comments or questions here on that. I'm going to move to the next slide. So we've talked about what you all wish your board would do, but here's what the board should do, okay? They should do these things. This should be in their job description. I have a job description for all of the people that serve in our organization, paid staff, volunteers, students, tutors, but the board should support the event financially and by attending. They should do both. You have to target your market. Our event ticket is $75 ticket, which for our market is a low cost to come and see an author like Carl Hyacin or Lisa C. or Michael Connolly, which is who we've had for the past few years. So $75 ticket. So they know that up front. Assist in finding corporate sponsorships. Make it easy for them. We have all kinds of forms, and we have a scripted email. They can send it to all of their colleagues. Ours is an author event. Many of them belong to a book club. Give them ways to show them how they can do it, but let them know that it's what they should do. Volunteer for the event as appropriate, and market the event to their circle of influence. I think one of the things that we don't do well enough, I didn't for many years, was talk to my board about their circle of influence. They tend to call it hitting up my friends. But you know what? It's not. If you care enough about the mission of the organization that you're serving on the board, then people who know you should expect to hear that this is the way you choose to spend your volunteer time. And we're not going to arm twist anybody. Nobody's going to force anybody to come to an event or pay for a ticket, but you have a circle of influence. It can, I'll give you an example. I have a board member young board member, works out at UCF. His parents are quite influential. His father's an attorney in town with a large firm. And, as he's become more involved with us, his parents, who are, moving towards retirement, have also gotten interested in us because their son's interested in us, and they definitely have the wherewithal to contribute. So his circle of influence includes his mom and dad, and there's no reason why that shouldn't be so. People's circles of influence are different, but there are people who care about you, who care about what you care about, who are interested in your interests. And so if you have them market the event to the people they know, and you can give them and show them reasons why that's not hitting up my friends. Keep the staff informed about the contacts that they've made and what follow-up is needed, because you can't expect a volunteer to do everything. If they throw out the first pitch, maybe we're the ones who need to, pick up the balls and bats and finish up the game. All right. Does anyone have any comments or questions on that? Michael, you got your hand up? Okay. Any comments on your end, David?
No, I think that might have been from an earlier hand up from Michael.
Okay.
I see that Michael took his hand back down then. So Ellen has her hand up. Do you have a question, Ellen?
I'm sorry, I forgot to take my hand down also.
Okay. No, that's okay. We just want to make sure we answer your questions if you have some.
Coming down. My hand doesn't come down.
All right. That list of the things that your board should do, I'm more than happy to, to flesh this out more fully and share my board commitment form or any of those things that might help you get them to understand before they actually get on the board what their responsibility is. Now, having said all of that, it's very good truism that for boards, 1/3 leads, 1/3 follows, and 1/3 doesn't do very much. So we always try to change that ratio and those percentages, but it is a fact of for most nonprofits. Okay. The next thing I want to talk about, first of all, either by writing into the chat box or raising hands, does anyone work with a host committee for their events? In addition to your board and a planning committee, does anyone work with a host committee? Okay. Ellen, I see your hand. Do you work with a host?
I'm sorry, but my hand doesn't come down. I've been trying.
Oh, okay. Okay, that's great. Well, I'm just going to look at your little hand there. It's really cute. I
think Michael raised his hand.
Oh, Michael?
Yeah.
Michael?
Michael's muted.
Yes, we do have. Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah.
I can, Michael.
Yes, we do have a committee that forms for our annual Scrabble Fest, and it doesn't have any board members on it initially. It's a community group that comes in and works with the staff to plan the event.
Okay, super. Now, they plan the event, or they raise money.
They plan the event. They do some of the fundraising, and then leave a substantial request for the board to take care of some of the asks for corporate sponsors for the event.
Michael, tell us if your board responds kind of better to having this community group, this leadership group, ask them to ask than they do when staff asks them to ask.
They like it better when the volunteers ask. They are used to hearing my voice as their director, and they're used to hearing several requests from me. But when the volunteer chair, who's taking time out of their schedule to commit time and resources to this event, is requesting, they feel that that's a much more urgent call. It's not that they view my call to be unnecessary or a low priority. It's just that they really want to take care of the time and energy that a volunteer places.
Actually, Michael, I think that's absolutely brilliant. I really do. I think that's very true. It's like a peer-to-peer thing. And, yes, Michael's really right. Our board gets used to the sound of our voice. We get used to seeing, oh, that's Joyce emailing me again. Hold the doodle. And there's a lot of that. So I really think that that's something that is something to take into consideration. That's a different twist on a host committee or a community committee to work on a special event than what I look at as a host committee. So I'm just going to take a second and run through this, and then maybe people can comment. What the host committee for us, and this is quite common in our community and I think in a lot of communities, we find community leaders who are highly placed in their business or workplace, who like our mission, and they're probably folk who are too busy to serve on the board. In our case, for the last 3 years with our Reading Between the Wines event, that's been true of all of the host committee members. There's been change in that host committee, but we've had some very stalwart folk who've come back every year and who bring really high level of community engagement and community visibility with them, which has been very important for us. One of those people is the local president or local market president of Bank of America, and they're the headline sponsor for our event. So that's been very important. But here's what they all, one is the local developer who's extremely well known, very well regarded in the community, really very helpful. And sometimes you don't know these things, but his commitment and his interest is because his mother was a librarian, and he just thinks literacy is vitally important. And, you know, something we didn't know about him, but, you know, somebody that we knew did know and hooked us up, and he became a member of the committee. Here's what they all tell us they like. They like one meeting only. One meeting only. We set 3, usually breakfast, and give them a light breakfast and coffee, one meeting only so that they can make it to at least one meeting. Email communication only, and only as needed. You know, some of these people, honestly, at the level that they work, if I were to email them, you know, if they were to get, you know, regular emails from them, they would no longer serve on the host committee. Thank them profusely. And that means that they come to the event, you know, verbally, not just listed in the program, personally in some way that you can. We give them a little gift at the end for serving, usually something that somebody has donated, and recognize them lavishly. Names in the program, the name of their company in the program. If they come forward with a large contribution, such as Bank of America, full-page ad in the program. So these are some of the things that we found for the host committee being really helpful. There's a job description for the host committee, which I think is the next slide. Yeah. Be a champion for the event and secure corporate sponsorship, invite people to attend, and attend the event. That's what we ask of them. And when we say secure corporate sponsorship, we have one host committee member who does not, from their very, very well known in the community, but does not have access for our mission for company sponsorship, but not only sponsors personally, but also is very good about getting friends to come forward with sponsorships. So he's a champion for the event and secures corporate sponsorships. Include in-kind. One of our host committee members has strong ties to the restaurant business and is really important in getting all this free food and wine delivered or donated. So what questions do you have about host committee and how that could set up or work for you, or what comments would you like to make?
Feel free to enter them in the chat function if you would like to.
Anybody want to write something in? Michael, your hand's still up. You have a comment? Okay.
Jennifer Slade asked, how large is your host committee?
Oh, that's a really good question. Our host committee for Reading Between the Wines, I've got the program right in front of me from last year. Our host committee was, let me see, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. Our host committee this year is 10. We find that if there's an expectation that everybody's going to, this goes along with set how much money you want to make. So we established that we wanted to make at least $3,000 on this event. And having 10 to 12 host committee members, all of whom, you know, have to come forward with at least $1,000, helps us get closer to our goal.
Jennifer followed that up, Joyce, with the question, do you have a chair for the host committee?
Yes, we do. We've had the same chair for 2 years in a row, and she may actually chair again for us next year. We do have a chair for the committee, but the chair of the committee is usually the person that we've experienced kind of has the most enthusiasm for the event. Their role is not really any different than the other host committee members. We ask the same thing of the chair. We communicate a little bit more with the chair, and so we usually choose someone who's not going to mind hearing from us, somebody who has a personal assistant, for instance, as opposed to somebody who may not, so that we're not bugging them and they don't have to feel that way. Usually we try to choose somebody who is well known in the community, whose name is the name that people know.
And Tana wanted to know, how do you identify who to target?
That's really a really good question. We started out by targeting past board members who had continued to donate and to be involved. They're targeting them and the companies that they work for if they had been helpful to keep those companies continuing to sponsor us. So when we started out, for instance, with the first host committee chair was somebody who runs a family-owned insurance company, quite a large family-owned firm in town, former tutor, former board member, former board chair, current member of our major gift committee, and she was a good fit for that. The current chair of the host committee this year is the vice president of community relations at the local utility company. Very public person, involved in a lot of things. And she just, we knew she was interested in literacy, and she had spoken to us about placing a board member, which we did, and then she agreed to serve on the host committee. So basically we start by looking at the people that we know, and then we talk to them, a core group, about who they think might like us, to whom have they spoken in their circle of influence, and that usually leads us to one or two other people who they think would be interested in serving. Try to find somebody with good communication, good community relations outlook, somebody with some public policy or previous political experience, and try to target some of the largest or at least the most philanthropic employers in town. I'd like to get at least 2 CEOs on the host committee. These are good ways to target. Now, somebody's asked how far in advance do we do this? Well, we're pretty much planning fools over at the Adult Literacy League, and we start way in advance. For this event, I'm going to say at least 6 months, probably 8 months in advance of the event. We already have our author for 2013, for instance. And when we have that, we'll reach out to our host committee and say, oh, we got Steve Barry for 2013, and we'll start calculating whether any of the current host committee members will be interested in continuing. We lost a host committee member this year because he wasn't all that interested in the author. But, his law firm is still supporting the event. So far in advance, keep communicating with them even after the event. That's part of thanking lavishly. Okay? Any other comments on the host committee? Okay. The host committee job description, we have a job description for them. We make sure they understand that literacy is a transformative thing, that people's lives are going to be better, that the community is going to be better, and that we're good stewards of the money that they're going to help us raise. And we also make sure they understand that they're going to receive recognition through all of our media. We let them know right up front, what we're going to do for them as host committee members. They're all listed on our website and their companies. And then if they are in turn become sponsors, which really essentially 100% of them do at one level or another, then we provide that same recognition. This past week, for instance, every day on our Facebook page, we're posting the companies that are sponsoring and some of the silent auction items that were donated by area companies.
Joyce?
So the next thing is, yes. We have a question?
Speaking of social media, could you talk just briefly about how you use social media in your special event fundraising?
Yes, I was just moving on to the planning committee, which is where I was going to do it, but this is a great segue.
Oh, okay.
The planning committee slide is up, and actually our planning committee has gone whole hog on the media thing. We've got we have a Facebook page for our organization. We have a Facebook page for the event. We have a Twitter feed for the organization. We will be doing live Twitter that'll be on the screen at the event. We use this really tremendously. There's a link from the Facebook page to the event page to buy a ticket or sponsor the event. There's a link there to the author, who is Lisa C. So you can go right to Lisa C's website and find out what her most recent book is. We send out information to our tutors through email now, electronically, so that at least once a week, if not more, they all hear from us all the things that we're doing. That's programmatically, tutor training, but also the event and how it's coming. We work hard to get friends for our website, our board, our volunteers, our staff. We have about 600 friends for the Adult Literacy League. About 250 people following us on Twitter, and we hope to, through this period of the event, we hope to probably quadruple that. So we do a lot with social media. So I attended actually a presentation this morning from our local community foundation in Central Florida, and he talked extensively about the incredible variety of ways that people can find out about us, and how much more engaged the under 40 set, in particular the under 30 set, are with organizations who use social media. So, but I'm surprised at the number of people who say to me, of all ages, when they come to tutor training, "Oh, I saw you on Facebook." So make sure that you really maximize the Facebook use. Our Facebook, we put out a call for volunteers to help us run the event, for instance, for the planning committee, and we were able to engage lots of new volunteers. We gave them clearly defined responsibilities and expectations. We have them meet regularly, but we also make sure there are real agenda items and decisions to be made. It's not, that's what often is wrong with a board meeting. You can mail it in. Because it's all talking about what happened last month. We try to talk about what's going to happen, what's going forward, and also thank them for everything they do. After every meeting, when the minutes go out, they get thanked. They get thanked by the board chair. They get thanked by me. They get thanked by our development and communications manager. Thank you, thank you, thank you. It's really important. Now, I must say the planning committee is kind of our one reliable bucket of volunteers. So that's why we have them, and why we also make a job to, give them their defined expectations and their responsibilities, because these are the people who are going to show. The other ad hoc volunteers and some of your board members are going to call at the last minute, and the dog is at the vet and they won't be able to make it. But, this group usually can be relied on. So make this a good big group, but not too big. Our planning committee is about 18 to 20. Okay, does anyone have any comments about the planning committee? Okay, and I've check for hands up. No hands up? Okay.
And do you have a chair of that?
Yes,
Sorry, Joyce.
We do have a chair for the planning committee. Up until this year, it was always a board member who took on the leadership of the committee. We have other board members who serve on the committee, but this year currently we have a chair and 7 nights, because she's very pregnant. But it was a longtime volunteer who's a tutor and who loves the event and wanted to take on the leadership. And it's kind of a family affair, because her mother is a very key member of the host committee. So that was a way to kind of massage that connection a little bit. It's good to have a chair for the planning committee, and make sure they know they're not mailing this in either. Sometimes we over compensate for our volunteers, and they do like to do things. So we include her when we're building the agenda, and we let her know how things are going so she can follow up with individual planning committee members. If you get somebody who doesn't want to do that and staff has to take it over, fine, that's what happens. But a little bit of planning up front with your chair can help alleviate some of that. All right, moving on. And so in this little final section, I've got a question here. Do most of your planning members come from the tutor base? No. Our planning committee members include tutors, board members, but they also include just community individuals who like what we do and who like special events. Because those of us who are in the fundraising business, the way we talk about special events, I mean, bless their hearts, even my wonderful, hardworking staff, it's pretty hard. But believe me or believe me, don't. You probably know this. There are people who like this stuff. And so when we put it out there in our social media, when we put it out there, when we go and make speeches, we always say we have this great event. It's a famous author, so who doesn't like that? And, if you want to help, give us a call. So we actually do have volunteers who just do our special event. Probably nearly half of the planning committee members are just community volunteers. Sometimes after they've been with us for a while, they do train as tutors because they come to like our mission, they meet our students and our tutors, and they have a greater value for what it is that we do. All right, I'm looking for hands and I'm not seeing any. Okay, let's talk about some events. Okay, first of all, I've listed the ones that were the most common on the survey. Let's hear from somebody who's doing something different.
And you can type that in if you're not able to unmute your phone. If you have a different event that's not listed here, feel free to type that in the chat window to us. I did see in the survey that a lot of people are doing a spelling bee or something.
Yes, I saw that spelling bee was the most common, and I saw, too, that people have worked to tweak their bee over time. Somebody has spelling bee that they have made like baseball, like a baseball game. There are all kinds of different combinations and permutations of the spelling bee, which was really interesting to see. I do know from experience that a lot of people turn a bee into a trivia contest just because after a while it's hard to find word lists. It's hard to get people who just can't spell everything under the sun. So I know that is a real challenge for the spelling bee contingent. There's conversation today on the listserv about, okay, let's share our study guides and our spelling word list because this is really a big time-consuming thing to do, and it's getting harder to do. I've mentioned our Reading Between the Wines event. There's more information about that on our website, adultliteracyleague.org. A colleague in Palm Beach County does a Love of Literacy luncheon where they do also have a famous speaker. They're having Pat Conroy this year. Difference between them and us, so they're kind of what I want to be when I grow up. They do pay for the speaker, but they also have incredible sponsors, and they have the event at the Breakers, which is a very swank hotel on the ocean in Palm Beach, which everybody likes to go to. So and I think they get that donated. So lots of good, sort of good ideas there. Anybody else
Joyce?
with? Yeah.
I had two people send something in. Jen said that they have a Letters for Literacy Scrabble tournament, and Erica Schmidt said that they have a chili cook-off in March, and they have a great turnout for that.
Oh, great! The chili cook-off, great. That's super, and wonderful about that. Letters for Literacy. That's a really good name. Naming these things is why we always get volunteers involved. Reading Between the Wines was as a result of a committee meeting on this. I think chili cook-off sounds like something that would be incredibly something you could go a lot with, and it's something you could also expand. How much can they type in? How much money they make on that?
Yeah, and if you could add how many people show up to that too, Erica, that would be great.
What's the attendance and how much money? Okay, I'm not seeing anything here. So, Dave, chime in if you find out what the chili cook-off makes. I would think that the chili cook-off have a couple of advantages in that it would be something that people would really, 1,500 and had hundreds of people. Okay, fantastic.
Right.
And, there are lots of ways you might talk about augmenting your profit from that $1,500. You may already do this, but we found that adding a silent auction, adding a raffle if you have a really good prize, and sometimes you don't even need a good prize. One time I offered to, one of my board members was the chief editorial writer for the paper, and I offered to cook dinner for the editorial writer, his guest, and someone and their guest at my home with my husband and myself. And I blush to confess it that somebody bid $700 for this privilege. So, but you don't get to sit down with the editorial writer every day, and I'm not that great a cook, but apparently he's a draw. So, and I think there may be something that you could do there without even having to do a lot of time-consuming asks to get stuff. Silent auctions can be good. The dinner with the executive director, we did as a live auction at the volunteer dinner, and it was well received.
Joyce, I got a couple more replies too. Jen said the Letters for Literacy Scrabble tournament, it had about 100 to 125 people and brought about 5,000 to 6,000. And Marilyn Golightly said that their Read the Greens golf tournament brought in $15,000.
Well, that's fantastic.
Yeah, and Jennifer noted that they piloted a Team Scrabble with Friends tournament as well as a spelling bee last year, and they made $7,500 on that.
Right. Scrabble with Friends, was just people coming and playing on their smartphones?
Like Words with Friends?
Yes, like Words with Friends, or this is just the name of the tournament?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
I can hear you.
This is Jennifer Slade. Actually, we did board game. We also had the option of Words with Friends because we thought that would be a draw. But we had about 150 come, but all of them wanted to play the board games, in the team competition. We had rules set up for the Words with Friends as well. So hopefully this upcoming year we can get some interested in playing Words with Friends.
Okay, I just put it out. I wondered. It's a really great idea. That combinations and permutations of Scrabble that I've seen over the years, I think are really inventive, and I take my hat off to everyone. It's a great game. Everybody loves it. Some people are absolutely addicted to it, and so obviously this is a good way to make a twist with the high tech thing. Jennifer, you're from Longview, yes?
Yes.
Yeah.
We had our 20th bee this last year and raised about $42,000 with it.
Yes, I saw that, and I recall that when we wanted to do a bee, one of my board members from Darden Restaurants actually had Darden pay to send us to Longview to see your bee.
Yeah,
so
I remember that.
I've seen your bee, yeah. Okay, so and sometimes it is good to make the investment, not necessarily to go to Longview, but to a neighboring community or a fellow nonprofit and take a look at what somebody else's event looks like. You probably all do that, but I've learned a lot from going to other people's silent auctions about what to do and what not to do.
I might also suggest, when we were looking at another fundraiser, the internet is wonderful for finding options, and we just kind of happened upon Scrabble and found rules and permutations, just by cruising online, and found the Syracuse council that had just a perfect team Scrabble tournament that we wanted to modify and use. So it's really, the internet makes some of this investigation so easy.
Yeah.
That's a really good point. We used to have a council in northern Florida that did a Kiss the Pig event, and which was a corporate event where how much will you pay to see the CEO of your company kiss a pig? And they have a picture of this really big, ugly pig. But when you get there, the pig is cute and little. But the council in Ocala, which is horse country here, had Kiss the Horse. They adopted it for their market, their community, and they've had a real good success with it. All right, we're going to just move on to the lessons learned.
And Joyce,
yes.
one more thing too. Michael Evans wrote in that their Scrabble Fest raised about $5,000 and had 30 players, and this year they expect to raise $10,000 and 100 players as a second-year event. So they're looking to double their income this year.
And I think I'm really excited and hoping that was like a board strategic decision with the staff to say we can raise more money with this same event. So that's really good. That's what we try to do, is to raise the bar a little bit every year, and then if we can't raise the bar any further, let's look how we can change the event, improve the event, or do a new event. So that's good. We are running out of time. Usually, I always start this because I special event fundraising, my first development director that we ever were able to hire just hated special event fundraising, and she would always say, do we have to? Which is why I called this presentation, Do We Have To? But one thing that we always find when we do a debrief from an event is there's always at least one thing that has us saying, well, let's not do that again. And having a debrief from your event is a really good thing to do. Have as many stakeholders as you can come and talk about what worked and what didn't work. And so I guess I just wanted to finish with, does anybody have, a quick story of a spectacular non-success?
I don't know. Actually, it was Heather this time.
Well, I heard a comment. I'm sorry we're having so much trouble muting and unmuting. Hello? But one of the good things to do is to really be very honest about the things that you absolutely wouldn't do again and the things that didn't work. If you're honest and upfront about it, tell your host committee, we know this wasn't good, we plan to improve it. For us, it was always the checkout process for our silent auction, which took way too long, and people were lined up and they were cross at the end of the evening not to be able to pay for their auction item and get out of there. So this year we're going through an automated bidding system, and we bit the bullet and bought some credit card swipers to make things faster. And the last slide is finishing on a high note. We asked, what things work particularly well for you, and is there anyone who's got a really spectacular success that they've had in the last year or so, or any final questions?
And feel free to type those in the chat, too.
I'm looking for hands. Okay. I'm so sorry that this muting and unmuting thing's not seeming to work for us. In terms of spectacular successes, I think that one of the things I would think for us was the year that all the volunteers except maybe one or two showed up. I do know that is an issue. And this year, to separate the wheat from the chaff, our volunteer coordinator held a training that was mandatory. And so he figured if you'd come to a half-hour or an hour training for whatever your job was, then you were more likely to come to the event. And I hope he's right, because we'd really like to get that to 100%. Jane or David, anything I should finish up with?
No, I think that's great. If you want to go to the next slide, then we can wrap up.
Okay. Okay, wrapping up. For questions or for more? Oh, that's for you.
Right. Yeah, do we have any more questions for Joyce? You can type them or raise your hands, either one.
One more question? Dave?
Yeah, I was just wondering if somebody hasn't done special events before, like if we're just starting out for the first time with a special event, what would you recommend for one that would be a good one to start with? You're just, like dipping your toe into the water, so to speak.
Yeah, that's something that there were at least two people on the survey who said they were considering doing a first-time event. They were considering doing a spelling bee. I would follow the steps that we've iterated here. I would have a meeting with some key stakeholders, volunteers, and board. Talk about what you want to do for an event. Talk about how much you want to make. Then talk about what you want to do and what the possibilities of doing it would be. Then, I would develop a planning committee. Obviously, with us, we sort of folk at ProLiteracy and connect with other people who do other events. Take a look at the best events in your own community from other nonprofits or charitable organizations and see what they're doing. Talk to their leaders. Start with the host committee and then move to the planning committee. In this instance, if you're new at it, I'd start with the planning committee and then discuss how you can put a host committee together. I would talk to your colleagues about how they make it work and how they make it successful before you do that. I don't necessarily advise people to start with something small or simple. When we did our first special event, it was a spelling bee. We actually, one of our funders paid for us to fly to Longview, Texas, and observe somebody else's spelling bee, which was a lunchtime bee, and we came back to Orlando armed with that visual and time spent with those people at that organization. Came back and we did a spelling bee, but it was not a lunch event. It was a dinner event. It was very different in many ways, but having just seen it once helped us decide how we were going to do it. Now, I know that's not always possible, but getting out in your own community and seeing what other people are doing is very informative. If you know of a group that does a really good silent auction, go and see it, and then maybe your silent auction, will be improved as a result.
Joyce did give us her contact information, and as you'll note here, that Joyce is willing to let you call her at home or email her at a personal email. So, and we will send out this PowerPoint to you as well, so you can have a copy of that. So, Joyce is available during the day at the number listed above and the email listed above. You can also fax questions to her too, and after 5 p.m. you can call at home or email at home too. And if you would like copies of the handouts, there are some handouts that were available that Joyce sent me that I can send copies of to you, and those are listed on the next tab. I'm not sure if you can tab over on that, Joyce, or not.
Yes, I can.
Oh, yeah. Okay, so we had...
Yeah, this is an example of our sponsorship form for Reading Between the Wines. Again, the logo was designed by a volunteer. We do the design of the forms in-house. And this is a very clear outline of what the different sponsorships are, $5,000, $2,500, and $1,000. And we give them the opportunity, if they can't attend, to send us a donation. Last year we did get a donation from a local philanthropist, Harriet Lake, who we've been trying to make friends with for a long time, so that was very nice. So anyway, that's a sample form. All the forms are on our website, adultliteracyleague.org.
And there's also a host committee job description, the full job description, and then the subcommittee job description that are also included here. I think you can click on the little double arrow to the right of that, and it will take you to the next one, Joyce.
Yeah, there's the job description for the host committee. This is obviously, it says reads 2010, so I haven't updated it for these purposes, but it's pretty much the same. And then I think is there more, Dave? Yeah.
There's one more.
Yeah, the sponsorship packet. This is the same form that we just
and then the subcommittee job description is the other one, Joyce. I think the bottom one.
There we go. Sorry.
Yeah. Okay.
There we go. Subcommittee job description. Yeah. Anyway, all of the stuff is available. I can send you very happy.
All right, if you can go back to the PowerPoint slide, Joyce, I just have one more. If you can click on the next one, then, so the webinar archive will be available on our Survive and Thrive page, and we'll send a copy of the Survive and Thrive link to you as well. And then our discussion will start tomorrow on Connect, so I hope you can all participate in that. And if you had some questions that came up or something that you think of later, please feel free to submit that to Connect, and we'll start that off with an announcement from ProLiteracy, and it will continue through the 24th. Since Monday is a holiday, we decided to start it a little earlier than we normally would, so that will give us a little bit more time. And our next webinar is called Just-in-Time Tutor Training, and that's on March 8th at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And that's for people who are interested in starting this program for the first time. We'll have a follow-up one later in the month of March for people who are already doing just-in-time training. And then in April, we'll have a webinar on volunteer recruitment and retention for the 21st century, and that's hosted by Diane Rosenthal. So she'll be talking about using social media and other things as well in helping to recruit and retain volunteers. So I want to thank Joyce so much for her time today and for all of you for participating. And if you'll note in the chat window, Joyce, some people have posted some nice comments in there as well. So thank you all for coming, and I really look forward to talking with you some more on Connect.